What's up guys, it's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. And today we are going to be having a look at the Dominion of Dragons. So I'm sure by now most of you will have seen this video that's up on the screen now with a sneak peek at what is to come from the Dominion of Dragons. And we have had quite a lot going on behind the scenes, which I'm sure if you're on social media you will have seen the dragons. You would have seen some sneak peeks of them. So I'm going to do something today that I've never done before, and normally I do like to wait until heroes are released into the game to review them, because things can change a lot from beta, and as we know, when they get released into the game, there's all sorts of nerfs and weird things that have happened in the background. But because this is such a big update, and because there's so much going on, and I think it's going to be worth us having a look at these heroes before they're released into the game. So we're going to have a look at the dragons that we have in beta today, and we're going to be going over each one as an individual, just having a look so that we can get a better understanding of what the next version, which is version 67, which is when they're due to be released. We're in version 66 now, so we're going to have a look at what that's going to hold for the future of Empires and Puzzles and Dominions of Dragons. So without any further ado, let's get going. We'll get cracking, and we're going to have a look at some dragons now, guys. Here we go. Right, so these are our first two that we're going to have a look at here, Barry and Snowy. And funnily enough, Barry doesn't look anything like a dragon. So just to sort of let you know, if you don't already, we are going to be seeing 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star dragons. So we've got rares, epics, and legendaries in the dragons. And it seems like some of them are not really dragons, some of them are vegetables. So let's have a look at Barry. Let's start off with Barry. Now, some of these stats are going to look absolutely bonkers. So we can see here with Barry, there's no class on the card. That's one thing to note straight away. And in terms of the stats, they look more like boss enemies than they do anything else. So, I mean, 9,000, nearly 10,000 attack and defense, and like nearly 9,000 on HP. Is just insane. I mean, these kind of numbers are numbers that we have not seen before, except from like boss enemies and titans. And then in terms of what they're actually doing, so you can level up the special skill. You can see here there are 10 levels on the special skill, it looks like, for these guys. So yeah, as if there weren't enough already with 6. I'm assuming that you will probably need certain ascensions to be able to ascend these heroes. I'm not sure if they'll be exactly the same, but then it's a brand new base, so we literally don't know a huge amount. But if you look at the special skill for the Barry Toxic Berry Blast, whatever's going on here, so there are mana speeds attached to these heroes as well. So slow mana speed, all enemies getting 3,000 poison damage over 5 turns. So it looks like these heroes are going to be battling against each other, because that's a huge amount of poison damage, obviously, in today's day and age. But then you are going to be having dragons against dragons and heroes against heroes, and I'll show you that in a moment. But all enemies get negative mana generation for 5 turns. Minus 1,500 defense against special skills for 5 turns. Looks like a pretty decent special for a 3-star hero. Just saying. So Barry's looking pretty damn good. We're going to have Snowy, who's a pretty cutesy looking dragon. I do quite like the art on these heroes as well, just to mention it. Stats wise, very similar in terms of the power, etc. And then we're looking at another slow speed hero, so he's going to deal 250% damage to the target and nearby. I mean, that is kind of a bit more normal, but then 250% of 9,600 attack means that that hit is obviously going to be a lot harder and a lot more in line with what these dragons are. And we'll have a look at the epics and the rares as well. So the target and nearby get 1,500 reduced attack until they're healed by a special skill. Can't look at the rest of this guy's special. But again, I mean, for, you know, slow speed heroes, these guys don't look half bad. So I'm pretty excited so far. So those are our first 2 3-stars that we've been looking at. Let's have a look at the other 2. So we've got 2 other 3-stars here Look at these guys. Spud and Stumper. It looks like we're really filling up the Pokédex literally with these heroes. So let's have a look at what they're doing. So we've got a fast speed hero there in Spud. He looks like, obviously, I don't know if he looks like a Spud. That's hardly like any potato that I've ever seen. But he certainly looks pretty interesting and pretty cute. So 275% damage to the target. So a single target snipe. Target gets minus 1500 defense for 3 turns. So it looks like they're not going so much with percentages on defense reduction as they are trying to do it based on the amount of defense that's reduced or the stats of the defense that's reduced. I'm not probably going to be the hugest fan of that when it comes to maybe pitting 3 stars against 4 stars and things like that, because I think there's a bigger disparity in terms of the stats between the 3s and the 4s than there will be if you just did it as a percentage. So maybe that is a tactic, I don't know, but it does seem like it will probably make the 3 stars stay at the 3-star level a bit longer. Hope that makes sense to you guys. And then the caster and nearby get plus 40% chance to dodge attacks and special skills for 3 turns. So it's nothing super new. It's just the stats are bonkers. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. That's probably an understatement. And then Stumper will be our 4th 3-star that we've seen. So there's been 4 3-stars released and 4 4-stars and 5 5s. So with Stumper, we're going to be looking at 150% damage to all enemies. Doesn't seem like a lot again, but we know the attack stats and everything else, all the other stats are higher. All enemies are going to get negative accuracy for 5 turns, and the caster regenerates 3000 HP over 5 turns. I mean, yes, the numbers are ridiculous, like I said again, but again, you've got to put it into perspective, the actual power of these heroes. And that is pretty much it for the 4 3-stars that we do know about so far. And then on to the epic dragons. Now they're starting to look a little bit more dragon-like with the epics. So we've got Sassy and we've got Luminaire. So let's start with Sassy. So she's going to be dealing 300% damage to the target and 150% damage to all other enemies. Again, automatically you can see an increase in the sort of damage amounts between the rares and the epics. And then each time the caster takes damage from an enemy's special skill, they deal 800 damage to all enemies. This effect lasts for 5 turns. I like that. I think that's pretty good. I mean, I know 800, we need to put it into perspective because we just haven't seen stats like this before. But the fact that she's dealing damage after receiving damage and she's dealing damage up front, she is running at slow speed. But yeah, I'll probably give Sassy the benefit of the doubt so far. I think she's going to be good. Luminaire just looks like he shouldn't really be flying, but he is, and that's what we've got. And he is going to be running at fast speed. So at fast speed, we're going to have 185% damage to the target and nearby. Dispels a buff from the target and nearby. Dispels a buff. Is that a random buff? I'm really sad that I cannot click on that question mark. I really wish I could. But the target and nearby enemies receive 330 to 990 lightning damage each for each turn for 4 turns. There's probably going to be some other effects attached to the question marks with this guy. Doesn't seem like a bad hero at all, or a bad dragon. I don't know what we're going to call these guys. Are they going to be heroes still? Are they going to be dragons? Are they going to be whatever? But yeah, I'm kind of getting it. I'll get into it a bit more, obviously, as the things are released. But yeah, for now, we're just having a look at these heroes and kind of having a bit of a chat about what they're going to be like. And they do look really cool. So moving on, our other 2 4-stars we've got are going to be, again, a bit more dragon-like. Now we've got this one over here, Eote. He looks like a beast. Let's see what he does. So recovers... Oh, he's a healer. Recovers 4,200 health for all allies. That seems like a huge amount. That's about a 40%, maybe 35% heal just based off of what we're looking at here with these stats. 10,000 HP, 4,200. It's about 40%. All allies get 30% mana generation for 5 turns, and all allies get a molten shield for 5 turns. Again, wish I could click the question mark. We will do when they're in game. Obviously, we'll go over these heroes as they're released in game in a lot more detail. But for now, that seems like a pretty decent healer, Eote. Noctua, Crescent Moon Strike, 300% damage to the target, cleanses status ailments from all allies. So it's Sonya, just as a bird with a mask on. Yeah, pretty cool special. 300% of whatever amount that is, 12,000, is going to be, seems like a heck of a lot of damage, but running at average speed, that's a bit of a downer. I'm not sure I'm going to like Noctua much. We will see, but cleansing status ailments from all allies is always a good skill. And then moving into the big boys now. So our 5-star dragons are going to be, we've got Leafheart and Delthazor. Leafheart and Delthazor, I mean, look at the art on this. I mean, wow, I love it. Honestly, I mean, they've really gone out of their way to make the legendaries look like you really would just want to grab one of these guys, you know. Just don't break your bank account trying to do so. So Wings of Thorn, average speed, 300% damage to the target and 175 damage to the nearby enemies. Again, with the stats increase, obviously the amount of damage is going to go up substantially. Each time the caster and nearby allies take damage from an enemy's special skill, they deal 2,000 damage to the attacker. Okay, wow, that's a similar effect as we saw with the other hero just a second ago, except it's a lot more damage, and it looks like the effect lasts for 4 turns. So yeah, that Leafheart's going to be a beast. Delphazor, pretty simple looking special, fast speed, 300% damage to the target and 175% damage to all other enemies. And it dispels a buff from all enemies. So it doesn't dispel all buffs. I think we're going with maybe latest buff or random buff. I'm not a huge fan of that, but then look, we don't know what's coming. We only know what we can see so far. So we'll see how that works in practice. Out of the two, though, I'd rather have Leafheart. He just looks so much better, and it seems like his special is going to be much better as well. And then our final two, actually, sorry, we've got one more other than these two, but then we've got something called Zrz, I think is how you say that, and Arenth. So Zrz, again, just insane looking art, absolutely amazing looking dragon. This I want just for the card. I think, you know, for the Pokédex purposes alone, I really want that one. He is running at slow speed. I know that from the other part of his card, but he'll deal 275% damage to the target, 200 damage to the nearby enemies, heals the caster for 30% of the damage dealt, and nearby allies for 15% of the damage dealt. So he's just a beast, man. He's healing everyone. He's dealing massive damage. The caster gets 3,700 increased defense. Nearby allies get 1,850 defense for 5 turns. So he's increasing defense. He's dealing damage. He's healing himself and the nearby allies. I mean, what's not to like? Other than the fact that he's at slow speed, I think he's going to be really, really cool. And I want him just because I want to look at that card. That's cool. And then Arenth. So Arenth is going to be at average speed. He's going to deal 150% damage to all enemies. All enemies are getting negative 2,200 attack until they're healed by a special skill. And all enemies receive 1,000 frost damage every turn until they're healed by a special skill. That's huge. Imagine that. And imagine 1,000 frost damage every turn, just with your basic heroes that you've got at the moment. I mean, just dead, and dead again. Yeah, fantastic special. I think this is going to be a pretty decent one of the dragons as well, just by the look of it, reducing the attack, the frost damage until they're healed. So there's no specific time limit on that. I mean, these are the 5 stars, so they're the big boys. So, you know, can we really expect anything less at this level? Probably not. And then our last 5-star dragon that we've got in here is the face that we've seen before, which is Zrz. Sorry to anybody who knows how to pronounce that better. But he is going to be dealing the Blessing of the Evergrowth, so recovering 3,250 health for all allies. All allies regenerate 3,250 HP over 5 turns as well. And all allies get increased attack of 2,900 for 5 turns. And all allies get 30% increased mana generation for 5 turns. So really just a healer. Just a really, really complicated kind of healer. and he is running at slow speed. So I think I like some of the others a bit more than I like Zrz. But then, you know what? Let's see how he goes. It's a pretty decent heal. There's no cleanse or anything like that. But then what kind of ailments? I mean, we've seen the frost damage already. You need a cleanse for that, and he doesn't have one. So you're kind of screwed if you take Zrz up against that last guy that we looked at. The appearance rates at the moment, now these are quite likely to change. But as it was in beta, we're seeing a rare dragon 72%, epic of 26.5%, which is absolutely huge. So it's definitely going to be easy to get your hands on the epic dragons. And then the legendaries obviously at 1.5%. I guess we're used to that by now, and it is a bit higher than what we see in the other portals, but it'd be kind of nice if it was more sort of troop-esque, where it was maybe 3, 4, maybe 5% chance for you to get some of these guys. And as I said before, the leveling materials are TBD. And that, I think, is about it. Oh, no. So we've got a little bit more information here as well. So we know a little bit about how this is going to look in practice. So if you have a look at this, this is not my defense team. This is somebody with much better heroes than I have. Probably a big spender by the looks of it. But you can see that on the left hand side you've got like the main defense, which is on your normal Empires and Puzzles screen, I presume. And this is where you can use the dragon that you've got as a supporting hero. So the dragon deals 60 damage to all enemies, and all enemies get negative 3% mana generation for 5 turns. So it's kind of just an additional buff. And you can see a little bit of an increase in the HP, defense, and attack. So it's not a huge amount. It's not going to change a huge amount in the original game, which I kind of do like. And I hope that they keep it very similar to this. But then when you look at this side of the card, where you've got a team that consists of all dragons, it looks like you're going to be using them with your heroes. And I have no idea how that is going to work. But it looks really interesting, so I'm excited to find out more about it. But your heroes are basically going to be like the troop support for these dragons. I'm not sure if they'll be able to incorporate both special skills as part of it. Certainly with the effect that they've been releasing with Insanity, it seems like it's possible for them to engineer that kind of a mechanic. But for now, this is everything that we know. So I hope that this video has sort of whet your appetite a little bit, and I hope that it's given you a little bit of insight into what is to come. Personally, I'm stoked about it. You know, we're all in the same boat when it comes to this game. If you love this game, you're in it, and you sort of take whatever comes and you try and, you know, work with it the best as you can. And that's kind of my philosophy on this, is literally just go with the flow, see what happens, and enjoy your gaming. So with that being said, please do let me know what your thoughts are on these new dragons that are being released and the Dominion of Dragons in and of itself. Also, I'd be interested to hear your feedback on what you think of the dragons. Tell me who you think is going to be the best in the 5 stars, the 4 stars, and the 3 stars. We'll get a bit of a conversation started in the comments. And please do drop us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. But until the next time, I wish you all the best, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye for now, guys.